What's up, Indy Ball fans? My name is Joe Williamson. I am the Indy Ball Insider, and I am super excited to get this podcast started. But before we do, got to clear one thing up. This podcast is not affiliated in any way with any of the four MLB partner leagues, any other independent leagues, or any independent league baseball teams. Now, you're going to see me with a lot of Chicago Dogs gear, as you see in the back there, and I'll have some Windy City ThunderBolts gear on as well. That is because I've been employed by both of those teams before. These podcast episodes are not affiliated in any way with those organizations or any others. It's just me doing my own thing, having some fun, and talking some indie ball. So, with that being said, let's get right into the content. I am here today with Terry Bonadonna. And Terry, I know you personally from working together, but if you would just kind of give everybody a background as to who you are, what you do, and kind of your involvement in baseball.
Yeah, I've been working for the Windy City ThunderBolts for the last 16 years now. I started as an intern in 2009 as a broadcasting intern, and then the next year I got moved up into the full-time broadcasting role. And I cannot say that I've kept that same job steady for the last 16 years, but I've bounced around within the organization. I've been with the Thunderbolts the whole time, and I am still with the Thunderbolts, and I'm still broadcasting as of now.
That's impressive. That's a long time to stick with one organization, especially an indie ball team, because even the teams don't always last that long. So really impressive that you kind of kept that tenure going. Is that kind of your like? I mean, I'm sure it feels like home, but is the end goal to just be like that Thunderbolts guy, or what's kind of where are you headed, I guess?
Yeah, I don't know if there is an end goal
Sure.
necessarily. I kind of take things day by day and year by year and see where we go. And if you had told me 15 years ago that I'd still be working here now, I'd say
Right.
you're absolutely crazy. And like you said, teams don't always last this long. I've seen teams come and go. I've
Yeah.
been at the first and last games of a number of teams within the Frontier League since I've been here. So yeah, I don't take it for granted that I've had this job for as long as I think most people would look at me and say you're an idiot. And I'm sure they're at least partially right, if not entirely right. But it's a job that is coveted by a lot of people. I can tell you that because I get emails every day from people who want to take the job away from me. So I don't take it for granted that I have it. Again, a lot of people would probably look at it and say, well, you really haven't done anything with your career because you've stayed in the same place. You're not
Mm.
advancing. And maybe when I started, that's the way I would have looked at it. I'm not sure. But again, I certainly wasn't expecting to stay here as long as I have.
Yeah.
But my role within the organization has changed too. When I started in 2010, my first year, non-intern year, my first year, I was an actual member of the front office. I was a broadcaster, and that's really all I did.
Mm.
And I kind of wish that that's all I did now some days, but it's not. I mean, I have a lot of administrative
Yeah.
responsibilities now, and I think that's what brings me back year after year more than anything else is the pride of working for the organization. It's a very small office,
Mm.
and our general manager, Mike Vershave, has been with the team since the very beginning in 1999. Our assistant general manager, Bill Walewski's been there for 10 years. Everybody who's in our front office has been around a long time, and there's a lot of lifers in there.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a certain pride to being one of them, to understanding that we have a very small group of people who are keeping this organization afloat and making it run. And I think that's what brings me back each year more than anything else is number one, it is still fun. But number two, you have a small operation and you're a big part of it. You know, you could go to the major leagues and you're a very small cog in a big operation.
Yeah.
Whereas here, you're actually doing something. It might be not a big thing in society at large that you're working for
Sure.
a minor league baseball team, but that minor league baseball team is providing entertainment to tens of thousands of people every year. It's a valuable, the Thunderbolts are a valuable member of the Chicago South Side community. And so to be a part of it and understand at this point in my career that I'm, at least moderately an important part of that, I think that's something that brings me back each year.
That's cool. And you kind of alluded to this already, but just tell us about some of the people you've met in the industry, whether it's within the Thunderbolts organization or outside. I've got to imagine between players, coaches, other broadcasters, and fans that uh, you meet some really cool people after being around for that long.
Yeah, no question. And in the few years that you've been working in independent baseball, you've met a lot of interesting people as
Yeah,
well. There's no doubt, I think I had a tendency when I first started to get a little bit more starstruck by
sure.
some of the former major leaguers that are around, and you realize, oh, there's former major leaguers everywhere
Yeah.
because baseball is a really small community. And it is fun to see some of the people I worked with, a lot of broadcasters that I worked with 5, 10, 15 years ago who have moved on to bigger and better things. A lot of them are calling major league games or games on a national level. So that's really
Mm.
cool. It is fun to work with former major leaguers because they can give you a different perspective on things. And it's fun to work with people who are eventually going to make the major leagues because they give you a different perspective on
Yeah.
things. And it's not just the big names, but it is the characters who work in the front office, either your front office or some of the front offices around the league. Baseball's a weird game. I don't want to say it's a weird game, it's a weird business
Yeah.
because and you've experienced this, you're working really strange hours, really long hours for a small portion of the year. There's certainly at our level, there's not a ton of money in it. So
Right.
anybody who is willing to take on a job like this, and especially somebody who's willing to take on a job like this and work it for several years,
Mm.
I always have said people who do what we do usually have a few screws loose. So uh yeah, I mean
Yeah.
there are characters around it. It makes summers interesting. There's no doubt about that.
Absolutely. And I'm sure you've experienced this too, but sometimes, it feels like different worlds interacting with maybe like the front office and the players, or front office and the fans, and then the players too, because the players are kind of what make the personality of the team, right? But then you've also got the personality of the fan base and the organization as a whole. I personally love watching those all interact. Is that something that you've kind of seen as well over the years?
Yeah, and I think the team is the headliner, right? I mean,
Right.
people come to see the team play. They want to see the home team win. That's what the game of baseball is about, but it's not necessarily the most interesting part about
Right.
working for a baseball
Yeah.
team. I wrote about this. I wrote a book about working for the Thunderbolts, and I didn't know exactly what the template of the book was going to be when I started working on it. I just
Mhm.
took notes. I kept a journal over the course of a summer. And it ended up being a lot more about my interactions with people around the ballpark than about my interactions with
Yeah.
people on the team, because I learned a lot while I was keeping that journal about
Yeah.
who are the people that I'm talking to most often during the day. But, I've always said, at least as far as the Thunderbolts are concerned, and I think this is generally true around baseball, is that the operation really works on three levels. And it's for me, the bottom level, and this is not in terms of a corporate structure when I say bottom level, it's physical space.
Sure.
Um, at our ballpark at Ozinga Field where the Thunderbolts play, the bottom level is where the clubhouse is.
Yeah.
So that's where the players and the coaches are. And then you go up the stairs and you're at the front office. And then you go up the stairs from there and you're in the press box. And so to me, the ballpark operates on those three levels: the
Mm.
clubhouse, the front office, and the press box. And among everybody who works for the team, I'm the only one who actually interacts with all three levels.
Yeah.
I'm kind of in charge in the press box. I am a member of the front office, though I only occasionally work out of the office itself. And I'm in the clubhouse every day because I have to work with the players and
Right.
coaches on a lot of different things. So it is interesting watching how those three operations dovetail with each other because in a lot of ways they are three completely separate things.
Yeah.
There was a situation last year. I have, and because you were a part of it, but I have sort of a village of people in the press box. We have broadcast interns and production
Yeah.
interns, and we people who work in the production room, whether it's doing music or video or any of these other operational things on a game day. And we have obviously a group of front office interns as well. There was a day last year where we ran out of space in the press box. There were just too many people there that one day. So I had to send one of my press box interns down to work out of the office that day. And one of the office interns just kind of gawked at me and he said, "Terry, we have other interns working here." And it's true. I mean, you work in the office, you don't really know what else is
Yeah.
going on in the ballpark. You work in
Yeah.
the clubhouse. The players in the team don't know half the people who were working for this
Right.
organization, and nor should they. So it is weird to be that one person where you're in a position where you're on all three levels consistently every day and you get a chance to get to know everybody because everybody has a very separate responsibility and they all work together to make things run.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's good stuff. So I know you said you alluded to this. I know kind of how the Thunderbolts organization runs. I've been there, seen all of that, but it seems like 2025 was kind of extra crazy just with everything going on. So give us just like a little insight into how that summer went. I know you did some writing on top of all the broadcasting you were doing as well. So yeah, just kind of tell us about 2025 and the craziness that was.
Yeah, I mean, it was a tough year for
Yeah,
starters. We learned a few months before the season started that Bobby Jenks, who had managed the team in 2024, had been diagnosed with cancer, and it's not a good diagnosis. It's stage 4 stomach cancer. So we knew that he was going to be out. Toby Hall came in, and this was odd too because Toby Hall had been hired internally as Bobby's bench coach for the 2025 season.
sure.
We hadn't actually made that announcement yet, so he wasn't officially. I mean, internally, again, we knew about
Right.
he was going to be part of the staff, but he hadn't been made official as a member of the coaching staff. So he got promoted to the interim manager position before he was technically even on the coaching staff to begin with. So that was weird. Toby's a guy who has a lot of experience around the game of baseball. He managed, or I'm sorry, he played in the big leagues. He coached with Bobby in the Pioneer League as his bench coach. So he had some experience with independent ball, but he had never managed before, and he had never worked in the Frontier League. So there was a lot of stuff going on with him where he's trying to learn it on the fly. So, for all of us working with a first-time manager who's obviously in a difficult position because he's taking over for a good friend of his who's just been diagnosed with cancer. I mean,
Right.
it was it was all a tough position for us to be in to begin with.
Mhm.
Uh, Bobby was still involved behind the scenes for the first half of the season, and then he unfortunately passed away in early July, which was just one of the more surreal things. Again, we kind of knew it was coming.
Sure.
He had been sick for a long time, but to experience that on a game day, we found out an hour or so before first pitch that he had
Oh,
passed away. So that night was just one of the most difficult
yeah.
broadcasts I've ever been a part of, and just one of the most difficult games I've ever been a part of.
Yeah.
It was a big win for the Thunderbolts. Very, very emotional.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll never forget it. One of the craziest experiences I've ever had. The Thunderbolts didn't have a great year on the field, but all of that felt a little bit secondary after everything that was going on
Absolutely.
with Bobby. And it was a crazy season for me because I was traveling with the team. It was the first time I traveled with the team since 2019. So I
Mm.
had moved away from traveling for 5 years. So getting back to that was weird for me. And we had the longest road trip that the team has ever had. At one point, we were on the road for 2 weeks. We went from New York to Massachusetts to Mississippi.
Yeah.
That was weird being on the road for a long time. So yeah, it was not the most straightforward season that
Sure.
I've ever been a part of. That's for sure.
Yeah, and how did that affect, your work in any way, or was it kind of, I'm gonna keep doing my thing and we're gonna figure this out as we go?
Yeah, I think that's what you always do when you work at this level of
Yeah.
baseball is you just roll with the punches and you keep going. So I'm not going to say that my job wasn't affected by anything.
Sure.
Everything affects what you do, but I think in this position, the only way to approach it is to know that whatever happens tomorrow, I'm going to face it and I'm just going to keep doing my job.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't remember you'll have to remind me what it's called, but you wrote about that 2 week road trip, right?
Yeah, I don't think it had a name. I just called it
Okay.
Terry B's Travelogue.
I love it. That was such a fun read to me. I know there was the part in there about Bobby as well, but just kind of like the experience of being gone for so long. I mean, it has to be exhausting for everybody involved.
Yeah, I think that probably came through in my writing on that blog as well. That was not something I planned to do. It was on the bus ride to New Jersey, which was the first leg of the road trip.
Yeah,
It just kind of occurred to me that I should be keeping a journal of this, and I might as well make it public as well. And I think by the end of at the beginning of the trip, it was actually a lot of fun
mm,
writing these blog posts. By the end of it, I think as at the end of the day, I'm like, oh, I'm ready to go to bed, and now I've got to spend some time writing about this.
yeah,
But sometimes it's really good to force yourself to do stuff like
sure,
that. But yeah, the saving grace of the trip was that the second half of it, we had 6 straight games in Mississippi.
mm,
So at least we weren't traveling for those 6 days.
yeah,
So the bus rides are the tough part, I think.
sure,
It's uncomfortable. We had one that was well, it was about a 20-hour ride from Massachusetts to Mississippi. We didn't take it all in one shot. It was a three
sure,
day trip. We went about 6 hours the first day. And then I think like 11 hours the second day. And so we just finished it up with a few quick hours on the last day of the trip.
Yeah.
But I mean, there was one day where we're on the bus the entire day, and you don't think you're sitting on the bus, you're not doing anything. You wouldn't think of that as tiring, but it is
Right.
kind of tiring.
Yeah.
It wears you down just being on the road all the time.
Yeah. Uh, so tell us a little bit because the Frontier League expanded before the 2025 season. So you got Mississippi, and they're in the Thunderbolts division. You got down east as well. So what was that like? Kind of juggling the new teams involved, the traveling, especially down to Mississippi. Like you mentioned, the 6 day series down there. What was that like? I'm sure. I mean, you've seen expansion or teams folding before as well. So what was this one like, maybe in comparison to the others?
Yeah, well, I mentioned before that prior to last year, I hadn't traveled with the team since
Yeah,
2019. When I was traveling before, we had teams in River City, Traverse
yeah,
City, Normal, Illinois, and we're talking about 5 hour bus ride to River City, 5 hour bus ride to Traverse City,
mm,
5 hour bus ride to Gateway, 5 hour bus ride to Evansville, 5 hour bus ride
yeah,
to Lake Erie. Everything's 5 hours or less. And then after the 2019 season, we expanded when the Can-Am League folded and we absorbed the Can-Am teams. So all of a sudden now everything's a 5 hour bus ride. Now we've got 3 teams in Canada.
hmm,
We've got 3 teams in the New York area. We got another team in upstate New York. It's just a totally different league all of a sudden.
yeah,
And then, as you said, prior to 2025, we added a team in Mississippi. We added a team in North Carolina. And we didn't go to North Carolina last year, but
right.
that's another thing is that, I was accustomed to a league where you travel everywhere, you play every team,
Yep.
home and away. Now the league is so big, you can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
So there are teams on the other side that you don't see at all, home or
Hmm.
away, because you only play 4 teams from the opposite conference
Right.
each year. But the weird thing for me is that Mississippi is actually in our division.
I know.
So we've got teams in, Schaumburg and Joliet and Windy City. So it's 3 teams in the Chicago area, and then you're
Yeah.
traveling down to Mississippi. I mean, I feel bad for the Mud Monsters because they're
Right.
always going on a long trip. For us, we only have to go down there once a year, but it made sense. I mean, geographically, there's
Yeah.
nowhere else you could have put Mississippi because they are an outlier so far down south. They're not close to anything else. So it makes sense to put them in our division, but it's really not great from a travel perspective. And
Yeah.
fortunately, it worked out for us. Didn't work out for every team, but it did work out for us that we only had to go down there once for a 6 game series. And we're doing the same thing next year. Our
Good.
schedule's out for next year, and we got one 6 game set in Mississippi rather than going there twice.
Twice. Yeah.
And then one East Coast trip too. And it's not so bad. You're only going to Mississippi once and only going out east
Sure.
once. The problem for us last year is that was the same trip.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, when you combine them, it makes it a little bit epic. And I know, as all these partner leagues start to expand, they're running into that difficulty of like, okay, we've got some teams who are kind of outliers or some that have to travel more than others. And you see a lot of the like Mississippi will come up for 3 at Windy City and then 3 in Schaumburg or whatever, and they'll kind of merge those trips together. So it's cool to see the league expanding, but you do get some of the travel problems that come with that for sure.
Yeah, and I think we took some inspiration from the American Association, which is where you were last year,
Yep.
and with Cleburne down in Texas,
Yep.
that's kind of the same deal, and they've been managing around that for a long time. So,
Yep.
we had kind of a model to follow.
Sure. Awesome. Well, I guess last thing before I let you go, looking forward to 2026. You kind of already talked about the schedule, but as far as, unknowns or things you're looking forward to, what kind of stands out to you when you think about 2026?
I would like to broadcast a winning season. I think that would be fun.
Sure.
We haven't had one of those in Crestwood in 9 years now.
Yeah.
I haven't had a playoff team in 16 years. So
Wow.
it would be nice to do that. That's what I'm looking forward to, but I don't know if that's going to happen or not. I have no control over
Sure.
it. So I can't say for sure. I look at it as my second year as a broadcaster.
Mm.
I broadcasted for the team for 11 years, and then I stepped aside and I was working in the front office for a while. And then I moved back into broadcasting last year. And there are some parts of that felt like riding a bike. You just step right back
Yeah.
into it, like no time has passed at all. And there were certain parts of it where I felt rusty. I haven't done this.
Mm.
And, I've been broadcasting consistently. I do a lot of broadcasting work during the off season. So it's not like I couldn't do the play by play, but it was just elements of the day in, day out of working with a team for a full season that I hadn't done in a while. So it was kind of fun to rediscover that.
Sure.
And like I said, I kind of treated last year like my rookie season, even though I've been doing this for a long time. So
Yeah.
I think that's one thing I'm really excited about for next year is stepping into year two as a broadcaster and getting better because there are a lot of elements of the broadcast that I thought could have been a whole lot better last year. So
Sure.
I'm really looking forward to that. And then the other thing I look forward to every year is I am really the only full-time employee in the press box.
Mm.
So the people that I work with on a daily basis are replaced every year. They're mostly interns. So that's the thing I'm most nervous about every year is
Yeah.
hiring interns because as you well know, when you were there as an intern, you spend a lot of time together with the people in that
Yeah.
press box. And so if you don't hire the right people for it, it can be a very long season. So that's the thing that I look forward to every year is meeting new people and seeing where their careers go as well. I get so excited about and I didn't earlier in my career, but I think I've been doing it for a long enough time now that uh, to be able to look back at somebody who interned in the Thunderbolts press box 5, 6, 7 years ago and see where they've gone in their career is really
Mm.
exciting. So that thrills me every year. It's just meeting a new group of young, hungry sports professionals and seeing how we can help them develop over the course of a summer and where they go from there.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I remember too, the looking through all those applications and doing interviews, that's a long process too. So
Yeah.
something to look
I
forward
think
to, right?
it was like 6 months from the first time you reached out to me to when we
Yeah.
finally
Yeah.
ended up squaring things away. So yeah, it's a lot.
Okay, I actually do have one more question, and that is stepping back and kind of looking at independent league baseball as a whole. If you could tell people one or two things just about like, why you should get invested or involved, or what is so unique about it that's maybe different from affiliated minor league ball or major league baseball, what kind of stands out to you when you take a look at that?
Well, I mean, first of all, if you like baseball, this is baseball. You
Yeah.
know, I always think of my dad when I first started working for this team. The first time he ever came to a game, he said he had never heard of independent baseball. I really wasn't
Sure.
very familiar with independent baseball to that point. He said he was expecting it to be like little league play, and
Mm,
he said the first game he came to, he said he might as well have been watching a major league game. He couldn't
yeah.
tell the difference. I think that's true of most fans. So I think there's a tendency of some cynical people to say, "Oh, I could go to a Thunderbolts game, or I go to a Dogs game, or whoever, whatever that local
Mm,
independent team is, and watch garbage baseball, but at least it's cheap." It's not though; it's good baseball. So
right.
I think that for starters, what I love about independent ball as opposed to affiliated ball, and this is not a unique opinion. I've talked to a lot of people who feel the same way about this. Affiliated baseball is not that fun. You've got guys who are trying to make their way to the big leagues and the high draft picks are eventually going to get to the big leagues. But the only reason that those teams exist is to have competition for those few guys in each organization who are trying to make it to the big leagues.
Yep.
Wins and losses don't matter. I mean, they matter to the people who are involved in the individual games. If you're a manager of a double
Right.
A team, you want to win every night because it's more fun to win. But at the end of the year, you're not going to get fired if you were a last place team. You're going to get fired if the players didn't develop at the rate that the big league organization wants them to
Yeah.
develop. So it's a lot less about baseball than it is about just individual player development. You
Mm,
don't get to make any decisions at that level as far as players go. It is determined by the big league staff as far
yeah.
as lineups. A lot of times those decisions, this guy's not hitting lately, but we need to get him at bat, so he's starting today.
Mm,
Whereas in the Frontier League or the American Association or any of these other independent leagues or partner leagues, you play the guys who are going to help you win. You're trying to win games.
yeah.
And so in that way, it's much more similar to Major League Baseball than anything else. But it is typically less expensive than Major League Baseball. It's more accessible. You can have more as a fan. You can have more relationship with the players than you can at the
Absolutely.
Major League level. I'm not trying to make a pitch for why Indy Ball is better than the Major Leagues. I'm not making that argument. I'm just saying there are aspects of it that are actually very similar to the Major Leagues, and there are aspects of it that are better than the Major Leagues as well, just from the communal aspect.
That's great. I totally agree with all of that. And I think people who are experiencing it for the first time, a lot of the time, it is surprising to them because, like you said, they're expecting garbage baseball, and that's not what they're getting, which is awesome. Especially, I talk to so many people who like they've never heard of the Dogs or the Thunderbolts or the Cougars or any other team in this area. And I'm like, oh, you should just go to a game and see, if you like it, because I bet you will. And a lot of the
Yeah,
time,
if you like baseball, you're going to like
right,
this. You can't
exactly.
put it more succinctly than that.
Yeah. And then you get like people getting invested in this stuff all kinds of different ways. Like you see, the school field trips, right? Those kids are exposed to that from an early age because they're going as a field trip, and then they know that it's there. So it's just cool to see, slowly growing these leagues over time, and the investment that people put into it. It's fun to watch. So
Yeah, and this stuff didn't exist when I was a kid. I never went on a
yeah,
school field trip to a Thunderbolts game. I was early teens when these teams started to pop up. The
hmm
Thunderbolts, Joliet, Schaumburg, the stadiums were all built within a couple of years of each other. Kane County was not an independent team at that time. They were
right,
around, but they were affiliated.
yep,
And then the Dogs came a little bit later. So there, we got 6 minor league teams in Chicagoland now that none of them
yeah,
existed other than Kane County when I was a kid.
yeah. Super cool. All right. Well, Terry, thank you so much for your time today. This was great. Good to catch up to you and listen to some of your stories as well. So thank you, and good luck as you prepare for 2026 because I know you got a lot in front of you.
Same to you, Joe. Good luck
Thank
going into
you.
next season. It's been an honor to join you.